Hello guys and welcome back to another episode. Today is another storytelling episode. So if you liked the other episode I did where we talked about who is Thrall, this will be the next one. So you could kind of say it's episode 2 of the storytelling. In this episode we're going to learn about Azshara. So you probably know maybe Azshara from the old lore, from the Great Sundering. And I mean, she was probably, you can say, one of the big reasons for why also the Legion came to the Azeroth. And yeah, I will not spoil everything by now. But welcome to another storytelling. Sit tight, relax, and enjoy this adventure of Queen Azshara. So the first part we're going to talk about is Azshara. Who is she? A quick recap of who is she and what have she actually been doing or done, you could say. So let's start with a quick recap of who is Azshara. Azshara is the queen of the Nagas, ruling from the underwater city of Nazshata. Quite interesting when you actually think about the next patch in World of Warcraft is about Nazshata. So we are finally getting down to Nazshata. Once the beloved ruler of the Kaldori Empire over 10,000 years ago, she was entrancingly beautiful and beloved by her people. When her highborn made contact with the Dark Titan, Sargeras, and his burning legion, she accepted his offer to cleanse her world of the impure of the inferior races. The Highborn and the demons worked together to summon the full might of the Legion and the Master on Azeroth through the Well of Eternity. But the Kaldori resistance thwarted their effort. The Well of Eternity was destabilized and collapsed, swallowing immense swaths of land with it in an event known as the Great Sundering. Azshara and the many of her highborn followers fell into the depths of the newly created Great Sea, and would have drowned if not for the intervention of the old gods. They forged a pact and saved highborn by transforming them into the serpentine Nagas, a price they would pay by becoming their servants. So you could say that is pretty much the quick recap of who is Azshara, what have she done, and how did she end up by being a Naga queen. So you can say that is like part 1. Let's go deeper down from the start, from the day she actually was born, and let's talk about who was she and what kind of life did she have. Queen Azshara was born with golden eyes, which were quite rare in night elves before the Great Sundering. Those golden eyes were commonly regarded as a sign of future greatness. Indeed, she was widely considered the most beautiful of night elves and swiftly became the most beloved monarch in night elf history. Strong-willed, manipulative, and incomparably beautiful, Azshara possessed far more magical talents than almost any other night elf. As one of the highborn and sole heir to the throne, she had long been fascinated with the Well of Eternity. Azshara coronation ceremony lasted years. Lasted days. It lasted days. Each night, the highborn nobility lavished precious gifts on Azshara to curry her favor. But there was one she cherished more than all the others, a night elf named Lord Savius. Presented the queen with a jeweled scepter, etched with delicate magical sigils. He promised Azshara that so long as she kept it close, it would bring her prosperity and great power. Azshara held the scepter aloft, and the jewels shimmered in the light of the moons, like brilliant stars. The sight of the queen and her gift was so beautiful that it brought many of the attendant highborn to tears. Now you probably think, who was that high night elf, Lord Savius? Savius, if you actually remember, Savius was that guy. In Legion, he was the last boss in the raid. What was it again? The raid was called. It was an Emerald Nightmare. He was actually the last boss. You know, he was the Red Night Elf. So he also, you could say, became evil. So that's not a criticism, you can say. One of the first things Azshara did with the scepter was to use its power to enhance her legendary beauty. As the years wore on, the queen seemed to grow younger and more mesmerizing. A brilliant aura enveloped Azshara, enthralling those who looked upon her. The highborn marveled at this strange phenomenon. A few even took it as sign of divinity. After her coronation, she indulged her interest to the fullest. Soon she ordered the construction of lavishly bejeweled palace on one of the world's shores. Seeking to please the queen, the nobles proposed that the Night Elf capital city be renamed in her honor. Azshara graciously accepted, and after a much heated debate, the city name was changed to Sin Ashari, or Glory of Azshara. Night Elves everywhere celebrated the city's new name, for they loved the queen as much as distributed the Decant and Highborn, or the Quel'Dorei. Such was her charm that her people did not truly consider her one of the Highborn. Azshara was adored by all Quel'Dorei, but she reserved her love only for Highborn. The corrupt noble elite who were hated among the jealous masses, for amongst the Highborn were some of the most powerful practitioners of magic. Azshara and her court took up residence in the new palace as soon as it was complete. Azshara ordered her highborn to join the Night Elf priests in trying to uncover the secret of the well. In their quest to learn its secret, the Night Elves discovered that they could manipulate with the cosmic energies flowing from the well. Perhaps no one was more suited to this task than Azshara. She was one of the greatest magic users who had ever lived. As she honored her command over the lake's energies, she infused a drop of its living waters into the bejeweled scepter. Queen Azshara enchanted the scepter afforded her great power. Imbued with the well of eternity's potent water, it held sway over the rivers and the seas, aquatic creatures of all kinds, and the life of energies that stirred within Azshara herself. She granted it a name, one befitting its remarkable properties: Sharastal, Scepter of Tides. And the funny thing about this scepter, just as a note, it's actually the one that the restoration shamans are getting as an artifact weapon in the Legion expansion. So if you just think that scepter is nothing, it's actually a big story. It's actually quite cool. And the shield you get is called Shield of the Sea Queen. So it's also, you can say, some kind of a story about the weapon. Just a little note. Many of the highborn living in the palace devoted themselves to constant study of the well. As the obsession grew, These highborn drew magic from the world's depths at reckless speed and channeled the chaotic energies into ever greater spells. The well was thrown into constant turmoil. Dark storms broke out over its surface, and its water darkened until they became utterly black. At Azshara's behest, expeditionary forces were sent out to explore the world and expand the fledgling Kaldori's empire. Borders founding of the outpost of Shandalar, Tenralor, and Eldrod Chalsalas. Azshara herself oversaw the construction of Latal Lasal, a temple of Elune built on the western edge of Kalimdor. As masons constructed the temple, Azshara shaped the waters around it with Sharazdal, the Scepter of Tides, the shaman's weapon. She spoke the name of the rivers and the seas, and they moved at her command. Salt water from the roaring ocean and fresh water from the mountain streams trickled to Azshara's side. With the flick of her wrist, the queen partitionated them into the great lakes that hugged Latal Lasal's sturdy foundation. Creatures of all kinds populated these waters, and they were at Azshara's beck and call. Whenever she walked the bridge of Latal Lasal, navy schools of exotic fish would array themselves in colorful patterns. She even kept a colossal sea giant bound to one of the lakes. She used her scepter to make him perform tricks and feats of strength, much to the delight of watching highborn. Curious night elves from far corners of the empire journeyed to Latal Lasal to study the mythical creatures and his habits. There was, however, one location that the queen sought to avoid: Mount Huyal, the sacred mountain refuge of elusive wild gods. Unsettled by the wild gods and their wild, untamed homeland, the queen publicly prohibited any attempts to expand into the Hyjal under pretense that she wanted to respect the Night Elves' kinship with the forest, even though in truth of Azshara actually despised the mountain and the harmony it represents. Azshara also struck an accord with Sandalar's tribe of trolls, who held considerable influence over the rest of the race. Uninterested in conquering the trolls, which the queen saw as a minor nuisance at best, she allowed the Sandalari to keep their sacred Sandalari mountains in exchange for ending troll incursion into Kaldori territory. So, as you can hear here, she was actually quite clever. She mastered the Well of Eternity to get a lot of powers. She has the Scepter of Tides, which is also the weapon that Restoration Shamans get in Legion. And it sounds like she's actually kind of taking over the world, you could probably say. But while everything is going fine, she's kind of destroying everything. And let's go down into details on what happened in War of the Ancients. One day, the queen was approached by her most trusted advisor, Consular Savius. And you know all who Savius is. With an idea of using the power of the Well of Eternity to cleanse the world and make it perfect in her eyes. Their meddling with immense magic, however, drew the eye of an interested observer, Sargeras. Seeking to unleash his burning legion upon Azeroth, the Dark Titan entranced Savius, pulling him under his power, following quickly with most of the Highborns and eventually Azshara herself. Saviors helped the queen communicate with Sargeras, whom she told of her desire to cleanse the world of the lesser races. Sargeras tricked the queen into making a portal from which was launched the first invasion of Azeroth by the Burning Legion, an event which is now known as the War of the Ancients. The Burning Legion's first attack on the world of Azeroth was located in Queen Azshara, the capital city of the ancient Night Elf civilizations. The Burning Legion, spearheaded by Hakkar and Manoroth, quickly decimated Queen Azshara with no mercy, killing all that stood in their path. The second most powerful and populated city in the Night Elf Empire, Suramar, was next in the line to taste the fires of the Burning Legion. Thousands of Night Elves were slaughtered as the Dark Highborn stood safely atop their walls, and Azshara laughed at the deaths of her kind. Azshara, help us! For Azshara, run Azshara, were among the few battle roars emanating from the chaos. But Azshara just looked away and knew that her people's death were necessary, so she could be matriarch of the new perfect world that would be shaped after her own vision. Eventually, a resistance was formed by Azshara, but Azshara paid no attention to the effort. Sargeras dispatched 3 of the most dangerous minions to his bidding: Hakkar, the Houndmaster, Manoroth, the Destructor, and finally Archimonde, the Defiler. All 3 commanded and watched over the Legion, and would have prevailed had it not been for the efforts of the 3 Night Elves: Malfurion Stormrage, the Druid, Illidan Stormrage, the Sorcerer, twin to Malfurion, and Tyrande Whisperwind, the Priestess, beloved of both brothers, and 3 heroes from far into the future: a Dragon Mage in a high elf form, known in humanoid shape as Krasus, and as a dragon, Corialthras, a skilled human wizard named Ronin, and a seasoned orc warrior named Broxigar. Some leagues away from Queen Azshara, in the region of Suna, the highborn priest, Prince Farandis, was far enough that he did not fall under the demon's sway. Farandis decided that the only course of actions for him to take was destroy the Well of Eternity using the Tidestone of Galgonath, one of the pillars of the creation. Vandross and noble Farandis caught wind of the plan and reported it to the queen. Azshara wasted no time in punishing Farandis and his people. In a frightening display of arcane energy, she destroyed the Tidestone of Golganath and unleashed a wave of dark magic across Suna and its inhabitants. The land was sundered, and the residents elves now wander Suna eternally as spirits. That's actually the story. If you play in Legion and you go to Suna and you help the Prince Farandis, he's actually the guy you're helping who all the spirits spit on, because he's trying to destroy the World of Eternity by using the stone. It fails, and Azshara is actually the reason for why they became ghosts for eternity. That's actually a quite cool thing. I didn't know about this. That's pretty cool. That's adding a whole new part of the story to Suna. Pretty cool. When the portal to the other realm was almost open, the combined force of the Night Elves and the allies from the future, Sea War of the Ancients, charged in to destroy it. Irritated by the lack of orders, Azshara approached Manoff and demanded an explanation. Enraged by both his own failure and the questions asked by the Queen, he wanted to rip her head off, but quickly saw the errors of his ways when he realized that Azshara was a force against which only his lord and Achaemenid would prove superior. Azshara forgave him that mistake and urged him on to allow Sagara's entrance to Kalimdor. At some point around this moment, Azshara was herself assaulted by a small band of Night Elves. In actuality, adventures from the future. She used her Keepers of Eternity Essentials as living shields to fight for her while using a mystical shield to prevent any wounds to her. She escaped after this skirmish. So, as you can hear right now, Azshara is kinda working together with, of course, the Titans, the Sagaras, to get in the Legion to take over the world. It's actually quite interesting. In this, you can say, storytelling, we only miss one chapter now, and that is, you can say, the ending. How did she actually become a Naga, and what happened? I hope you still like the storytelling and you're still following, and sorry if I'm sometimes stumbling over some words, but as you can hear, it's really, some of the words are really hardcore. But let's go to the next chapter. Birth of the Naga. Not much later, the portals were destroyed and the Sundering was upon Kalimdor. Realizing that Sagaras would not be coming, she decided not to tell her handmaidens and most loyal followers. As the oceans roared into fill the void left by the destroyed world of eternity. Azshara raised Sharastal high. She wove a magical shield around herself and the Highborn, saving them from being crushed by the colossal waves. But it was only a momentary reprieve. The howling ocean soon swallowed the Queen, Sharastal and her followers. The lungs burned for air, and so the Queen willed Sharastal to let them breathe the water, but it did not. The scepter could not save them. Oblivion spread its arms and beckoned the desperate Highborn. As the ocean crushed the life from their bodies, ancient creatures stared in the darkness. Their whispers flowed through the currents. Their powers wrapped tight around the Queen and her servants. The Highborn became something new, something more. A fleece of scales shimmered over their skin. Tails thrashed against the current. The unknown Intils made the Queen and her followers one of the sea. They made them into the Naga. Though Azshara, old empire was in ruins, she crafted a new one far from the light of the sun. The Queen and her Naga servants created a capital, Nashata, at the bottom of the sea. With patience and cunning, they expanded their dominion over the oceans. It is even said that Azshara nurtured an alliance with the mysteries and powerful entities who had transformed them into the Naga. As the years wore on, Azshara relied on Sharastal less and less. She still treasured the scepter, but she found it was more useful in the hands of her fearsome sea witches. These loyal servants wielded Sharastal as a weapon to spread Naga's domain and crush all who opposed them. It was not long before the Naga sea witches learned to harness the Sharastal as Azshara had. With a wipe of the scepter, they drove thousands of aquatic predators into a frenzy and unleashed them against troublesome sea giants. With a whispered incantation, they boiled Quality raiders from the inside and scattered their remains to the currents. When the sea witches were not wielding Sharastal, Azshara would often carry it aside and reminisce about times long past. She still remembered Lord Saviour's promise. So long as she kept the scepter close, it would bring her prosperity and great power. The queen had lost much, but she was not dead, far from it. In her heart, she knew that one day her empire under the sea would eclipse even that of the ancient idols. One day, the world would be hers again, and she would not let it slip through her fingers a second time. And as you pretty much know right now, in Battle of Azeroth, it is now she is making her eclipse. She is now coming up to the land of human people, everyone else. She's now being a mark on the map, and she's actually now trying to take over the world properly. So, as at the moment we don't really know more, we would have to see for patch 8.2 what will happen. What is the next part of Queen Azshara? So, stay tuned, as in patch 8.2 more will be coming. So thank you guys and ladies for listening to this storytelling. I really hope you appreciate it, even though I still sometimes stumbles on some words, but as you can hear, it's very, I would say, sometimes complicated words we have in these histories. So again, thanks for watching, really appreciating, and thanks for listening. Have a really great evening or day wherever you are right now, or if you're on your way to bed, sleep well, sleep tight. And see you in the next video or the next storytelling. Peace out.